So I just wanted to make an audio recording because if you look at some of my past videos and everything, I've made a lot of different videos about the fact that I have had somewhat of a strict Christian upbringing, and so I just kind of wanted to, sort of make an audio recording because I sort of wanted to explain the astrological part. And I also, in addition, I kind of wanted to share a funny story with you that happened to me in high school. So if you listen to my videos before, I have an aunt who, at this point, she's probably about 85, and she is really, really, I mean, she's, in conversation, she's pretty nice and everything like that, but she means well. She's not that bad, but she's like, just over the top religious nut, and she, doesn't believe in birth control, and she just thinks, just these extreme Christian views. So basically I sort of, for the first part of the audio recording, I sort of want to explain, astrologically what's going on. So I did a birth chart, obviously I didn't do it for her, but I did it for my own personal information. I just kind of looked it up on the internet, and I downloaded her birth chart, and I just took a quick peek at it probably about 2 years ago. And she has, her Mars in the 9th house. Now, Mars is an interesting planet because Mars, in a woman's chart, it represents the types of men that a woman is interested in, and then it can also represent sex. It can represent violence, or it can also represent your career. So her Mars, so that could be, in this case, we're going to go like where your extreme and where your anger can lie and everything, and violence. Her Mars is in the 9th house, and the 9th house is also interesting because it can also represent a few different things. So that's about travel, and it's also about religion and higher education, so like going to college or something, or if you want to go to, school to become, a neurosurgeon or something, you would have to look toward that house. So I was doing some reading a couple years ago and everything in all my research, and I found out that people with Mars in the 9th house, they can become religious extremists, because Mars is the planet of, violence and aggression and stuff like that. So if it's badly aspected, anywhere where Mars can be an issue in your birth chart. And anyway, if it's in the 9th house, sometimes people, because that is the planet of the 9th house is the planet of religion and everything. Sometimes if people do have the planet of Mars in there, they can become a religious extremist. So basically I kind of have to tell a story. It's kind of a funny story, I think, that happened to me when I was in high school. So my aunt has like $1 million home. They have 2 cars, and they have a really big, pool at their house and everything. And this must have been the summer of 2003. And it was when I was either just after, I can't remember exactly, but it was just when I was either just gotten out of 9th grade or when I was just finishing up 9th grade. And I wanted to go to a school dance. So, it was me, my mom, and my aunt that were all laying out by the pool one afternoon, and so this must have been when I was finishing, probably springtime when I was finishing up, like April or May when I was finishing up, 2003, finishing up 9th grade. So I don't remember the entire conversation, but I had told my aunt probably about, recently, within the last week or something, about and my mom was sitting there and everything, my religious aunt, and I told her about a dance that I had recently gone to like a week before, and my aunt, I think she kind of had a strange response to it. And she was like, I don't know, she seemed like really concerned, like about teenagers, and really concerned that they would be all bumping and grinding on all each other and everything like that. Because she was asking, a whole bunch of weird questions and everything. And she goes, she just asked like every detail, and she was like asking, well, what kind of dancing, do they do? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what it's really called. And then she goes, do they touch? And I'm like, no, not really. I said I didn't. And then she said, and then I was kind of like telling her about, music and different songs that I liked at the dance. And she goes, what are the lyrics to it? And then, she just kind of wanted to want to know every last detail to make sure that I was not getting into any trouble in a school function or anything like that. So I just thought it was like a really kind of nitpicky and prodding and prying in my personal life. And I think that, was kind of a strange response. And she was just asking so many questions. And I also sort of wanted to, address it astrologically, because like I said before, I looked up her birth chart, 2 years ago, and it explains a lot. She has the planet of Mars, and that can be sort of like where your anger lies at, and then it's in the 9th house. So I ended up finding out that people that have that placement, like my aunt, they can become some sort of, religious extremist. And so the 9th house is about religion. So if you have Mars in your 9th house, then that can indicate somebody that, has, I don't know, some sort of religious cult ideas.